The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the guests or hosts, and not necessarily those of the advertisers, networks, platforms, or stations. Warning that the content of the show may not be suitable for all audiences, and that viewer discretion is advised. The show does not intend to provide medical, legal, or financial advice, and viewers or listeners should consult with a professional before making any decisions based on the information presented.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Intelligence Agency Radio Live. I'm your host, Jack Carey, and we're broadcasting from 300 feet deep in abandoned and nuclear missile silo somewhere lost in the post-apocalyptic wastelands of the Dakota Territories. And as always, I'm joined by the paranormal crime-fighting duo, Daisy and the Sundance Kid. As always, there is a $10 cover at the door and a 2-drink minimum. And tonight we're going to be discussing the anatomy of a UFO cover-up. What does it take? How is, a lot of new information has come out about how they were able to structure the compartmentalization of UFO secrets in such a way that they've been able to, largely maintain the secrecy all these many years, although there's been a ton of leaks, and now there's a ton of insiders and a ton of whistleblowers and all of that going on. So the Webbot was right in that prophecy that we would see the day when the leaks would just start coming out like a sieve. When the hyperinflation began, and you can look on a chart for inflation, and when experts, believe, and by experts I mean non-mainstream experts, because let's face it, it's useless watching CNBC sometimes or Fox Business News. As well-intentioned as some of those folks may be, they are clueless when it comes to what's really happening in the world. And it's all tied together. It's all tied together from UFO secrecy to hyperinflation to cryptocurrencies to cryptid animals. And this is the show where we explore all of those interconnections in such a way that it blows your mind. And, tonight I thought we would, we're early in the new year. Let's take a step back. Let's look at the puzzle we have. There's a lot of pieces that we've been able to put into place, a lot of rabbit holes we've gone down, a lot of, theoretical rabbit holes, though they may be. You can sort of fashion puzzle pieces and put them in place and then work backwards and see if they make any logical sense. And some of the areas, that's what I've done. But we're going to look at, this new idea, this new structure that's come out from various researchers talking about how, everybody thinks that right now in the UFO community, the general idea or consensus is that, it's like Lockheed Martin, it's like Raytheon, a few other aerospace, military-industrial complex entities that are kind of runaway now with the UFO, with back-engineered alien technology. And honestly, that doesn't really appear to be the case. In fact, what they've done is far more ingenious than that. And shockingly, most of all, if you listen to the testimony of David Rush, the insider who was able to prove to Congress who he was with his credentials, he was, you want to know who a man in black was, basically. David Rush was one of those guys, he was ultimate insider, and was able to trace down the legacy UFO program and able to verify that they had captured alien craft and biologics on board those craft, in other words, alien bodies. And, he says that as far as he was aware, going back to 2009, it was structured in such a way that, believe it or not, Vice President Dick Cheney was actually the top of the UFO cover-up program. And from 2009, it kind of goes dark as to who is the head guy. Best efforts at ascertaining who that might be leads us into the world of naval intelligence. It appears to be somebody in naval intelligence that is the ultimate, the man in the high castle, as it were, when it comes to the UFO phenomenon, gatekeeper of the secrets. So that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down tonight, because when you look at the structure of how they're able to keep it secret and compartmentalized and everything, that leads us into the Webbot cyber prophecies about the leakage of alien technology into the mainstream public and how that begins its predictions of so-called sci-fi world emerges. And that's a time that we're entering into now, when you're going to have all kinds of exotic technologies begin to appear that will make our lives look like a sci-fi movie. Again, we do examine the cyber prophecies on this show. We are on the upswing of the Kali Yuga. That is a planetary cycle that we go through on Earth. And every so often, we're able to get into a position on this planet over eons of time where we're able to absorb more of the energy coming from galactic center. When that happens, we go through golden ages as a species on this planet, and that's right kind of where we are. That transitional phase coming up out of the dark of being blocked from that energy into being full on blasted by it is an extremely turbulent time, and you can see that unfolding. And if you've been following my program, you'll know pretty much everything I was talking about many, many months ago is now all coming true. If you go grocery shopping, you'll see the hyperinflation taking place. There's really nothing anybody can do about it. So don't blame Trump or his administration. This was in the making for decades and decades of time. They have been printing money nonstop forever. And as they have been printing money nonstop forever, China and Russia have been hoarding gold forever. January 1. China changed the rules for the export of silver. You can no longer get silver out of China, and they refined 70% of the world's supply. Just imagine, 70% of the world's supply just got cut off at a time when there is a shortage of somewhere around 4.2 billion spot ounces. That's with a B. This leads us back into the world of cryptocurrencies and of silver. And we're going to cover silver quite extensively tonight because I've been covering it on an ongoing basis. It was predicted by the Webbot and by Dick Algier over at Future Forecasting Group that silver would become unobtainium. Well, if you've been following the price of silver, you'll know that yesterday and today and the day before and the day before that and the day before that, it just keeps going up, guys. 4 to 6%. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, every day. They try to sell it off. The buyers come in, they buy it all back and push it green another 6%. It just is relentless. It hit $93 a spot ounce today. 93. The new predictions coming out from JP Morgan, they say 225 an ounce. JP Morgan is long 750 million spot ounces of silver as we speak. And that leads us into really part of this whole beautifully complex picture, as it were, is that silver is the centerpiece of a huge battle that's taking place. And I've synthesized all of that down. There is a prominent researcher out there that has intelligence ties and geopolitical ties that are pretty extensive, and this person has the ear of the president. To make a very long story short, Trump knows some researchers who've been able to trace all of his problems going back all the way to the Russia hoax, to the same families that control the European banking system, right? At the same time, it became known to the Trump administration through Elon Musk and through others that those banks were short billions of ounces of silver. Billions of ounces. The projection is for every 1 ounce of silver they sold it on contract to 356 people for every 1 ounce. Imagine the calamity that is currently unfolding that they're not even talking about right now. It is sheer panic in boardrooms and banks across the world right now. And just a couple of days ago, Tesla files an SEC filing. If you will take that filing out and please leap through to page 63, paragraph 4, you will see that Elon Musk for the last 5 years has quietly been purchasing vast amounts of silver. They've been doing it as part of their overall production procurement, right? So when you're running a corporation or a series of them like Elon Musk does, your supply chains are your lifeline. Everything relies on them. He was smart enough to see this squeeze coming 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, he told his guys to start quietly buying up all the silver that they could buy. He's now sitting on somewhere around 350 million spot ounces of silver, and they're buying. That is not the end of their purchasing. In fact, they state in their SEC filing, because they are required by law to do so, that it is their intent to corner the silver market. You're hearing fresh intelligence first. Many of these technical analysts and analysts out there in the world haven't even reached page 63. It's just the way it is. So welcome to my show. And so Musk and Trump have a mutual interest. And you'll be hard pressed to tell me that they didn't talk about this together and Trump say, you know what? You need the silver. I need to eliminate the people that tried to eliminate me. And they're short 4 billion ounces of silver. How would you like to help me create the largest short squeeze in human history and destroy those evil you-know-whats all in one felt swoop? That's what's happening. That's what's happening, guys. And it is fascinating to watch when you know what's truly taking place underneath the smiling faces on the TV screen. Because those people are controlled by puppet masters who have a narrative that they want to embed in your brain, because to them, you are simply cattle. If they can't control their cattle, then they have a major, even terminal problem on their hands. So, what you're seeing, if you're like me, and fair disclosure, I've been a silver stacker for over 5 years, and I'm heavily invested in silver. That's just something that I thought was, I saw the squeeze too. I heard the rumors. I listened to the analyst. I read the WebBot reports about it becoming unobtainium. And it was selling for $22 an ounce back when I started buying it. Right? So it's still not too late, in my opinion, and that's not advice of any kind. I'm just saying, if I if I had extra cash to allocate at this time, I wouldn't be afraid to go buy some more silver if you can get your hands on it. I'm told that even though the spot price is $93, just shy of $93 right now, that if you try to buy some like silver in a shop somewhere, you're going to pay maybe $20 above spot. The problem is that these guys can't be sure that they're where the price is going to wind up and if they'll be able to afford to replace their inventory. So that's really where you're at. There's only a handful of goods on the planet whose demand increases as the price increases, and silver's at the top of that list, right? You can't manufacture it. The earth doesn't make it like it does gold. It's manufactured in supernovas. So it is a extremely finite supply, and most of the world's silver that is produced or mined today comes as a byproduct of mining like silver and or copper and other metals. So that is, all of this is converging. You have a shortage, you have a record number of naked short contracts on spot silver out there that have to be covered. Every dollar that goes up costs these dudes billions of dollars. Can you imagine? And it goes up $6 today in one shot, and it costs them maybe 100 billion every time it goes up $1. And you're just watching that. 600 billion. Boom. Gone. Like thin air. Just gone. What are you going to do? Because if you tried to buy that silver to cover your short positions, you are going to shoot through the roof. And then you just annihilate yourself. Well, these geniuses have been trying to short it as it's going up. They don't have a choice. They keep hoping they're going to hit a top somewhere. They're not going to hit the top. If you follow technical analysis, the underlying structure of the prices of assets, the way that I do, and by follow I mean listen to experts in those fields who do nothing but examine charts, you will see that the technical metrics of silver right now are in blue sky. That is a fabled area of technical analysis where an asset finally gets released to discover its true value for the first time ever. And they're short billions. Add on top of all of this, right? Tesla, in their SEC filing, states that they've just developed a new battery technology. solid-state battery that is going to revolutionize electric vehicles. You talk about range. These batteries are going to give you range like thousands of miles without recharging. There's one little kicker. It takes about 3 times the amount of silver as the batteries that they have right now. 3 times. You don't think his competitors are going to try to duplicate that technology? Of course they are. Here's another kicker. It says in the SEC filing that it is their intent to push the price of silver up to $225 a spot ounce on their buying alone. Without margin, without retail investors, without ETF inflows, without anything else, Tesla and Musk, with his many billions of dollars, intends to push the price of silver to $225. Why would somebody do that? They answer that question too, because at $225, all of his competitors get priced out of the silver market, and with that ends the production of all of his competition. He just cut their throats. And now he's going to own the EV market worldwide. There won't be anybody left. What are you going to do? You can't produce them if you don't have the silver. Period. Now Samsung is saying that they're going to change over to graphene. Well, graphene works for a television set. It doesn't work for anything else. So good luck with that. So here you are, guys. Once in a lifetime. This is, you'll never ever see this occur in another asset in your lifetime unless it's a digital asset. Right? Cryptocurrencies also have the potential because they are finite. Right? If you're an Ethereum trader like me, you know, there's 120 million Ethereum tokens. There'll never be more than that. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. There'll never be more than that. Nobody can turn on a printing machine and print more Bitcoin. The final coin is going to take somewhere around 140 years to mine. That's how vast the cryptography is, right? So you're going to see a flight into stores of value that are away from the US dollar. Hyperinflation was predicted to occur with the WebBot cyber prophecies and the Alta reports going way back. And now, because we've hit certain time markers, temporal markers along the way, now you can see that with the explosive upward move of silver, as predicted by the WebBot, you will see an accompanying hyperinflation take place. Nobody knows how bad that hyperinflation can get, but the WebBot says it gets bad. And that's because they're going to be forced to print more money. They are simply going to have to print more money. The only way you can solve the problem that we have right now, which is too much money, is to print even more. What that does is it devalues your currency, but at the same time, it causes your goods to be sellable overseas, and it boosts your manufacturing hugely. So, you know, there's all kinds of double edges to all of this, right? The trick is realizing that it's going to be turbulent, and don't let yourself get too down about it, right? It's going to be a turbulent portion of our history as we go forward through 2026, and we're going to examine how and why the UFO phenomenon is going to feature in prominently into all of this in the second half of the show. And we've got to cover what's taking place right now on the crypto charts. And we're going to get back to all of that after our break. And I'm going to explain, well, when we come back, I'm going to explain how all of this complex cover-up actually may have been the linchpin that caused the hyperinflation to take place. And we'll get back to that right after this break, guys.
Great job, Jack.
Thanks.
Great conspiracy in the Kick Chat. He's restreaming. He's been restreaming me since the beginning. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody's support, no matter what platform you're on, listening to us. I talked to Debbie Perkins earlier tonight, and she's doing really well. And we're going to get her show going again, too, very soon. I just got to, take care of some things here and at home first, and then we'll be working on that. And she's got some guests coming up for the summer.
Beautiful. Blow my nose real fast.
Yep. So have you had a chance to take a look at some of the new encores that I've put out for us? And how I've cut that, cut out our live stream to add into that for that? So they can see you.
I have not had a chance to look at those, but I'm getting ready to. This next week, I need to review a lot of that and kind of get some of that up.
I think you'll enjoy that, especially when you add them up into your channel.
Yes.
Like this portion here that we're doing right now, they'll hear our break. You and I talking, they won't hear the radio break. I'm only going to do that on the audio platforms.
Oh, okay.
From now on, yeah.
Cool. Very good, sir. Got it.
I could stream directly to your channel if you wanted. I have that capability. But I don't know. I don't know if you want all three shows from Wednesday nights, though.
Oh, I wouldn't care. That'd be cool if you can do that.
Yeah, you'll have to give me the keys and codes for that next week.
Okay. I'd be totally.
I just you'll have to set up. Hey, Wednesday streaming on your side, and then I'll just, when I come on, like 25 after 4 my time on Wednesdays, I would just kick it on, and then I wouldn't use that any other time except on Wednesdays for streaming. That way, folks there can get a good look.
It'd be sweet. I tell you, who would love that would just be my subscribers. There's 73.
Your subscribers definitely would like that. And folks out there, you can subscribe to me on all the other platforms. Though I don't take in any kind of monies from this. All mine goes straight to a nonprofit called Operation Phantom Support, and I use that. It's a local veterans non-profit here in my area, and whatever I can do to help them out, because they help me,
Yeah, that's cool.
I send it that way. But if I can help you and the other hosts out, I'm fine with that too. If they wanted to, for their individual subscribers.
Yeah, I'm down for that. That'll be really cool. Sitting here looking at overseas, they got silver down 3% in Asia, right? That's funny. These guys are, the volatility is...
Do you want to bring up that your web share? Now's the time to do it. We got 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. They do this real fast. This will be cool. Let's see.
Need to change the name of your show. The Crypto, Zoology, and Currency Show. Here's your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you are live and back on the radio side right now, Jack.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Intelligence Agency Radio Live. I'm your host, Jack Carey, and we're, examining kind of from the 30,000-foot view where we're at in this crazy new world we're emerging into, the sci-fi world. I was going to see if I could pull up a window. I don't know why this is always so difficult, but let's see here. Oh, okay. I don't know. Can you see that, Mark?
No, I don't see it right now. There, I see me, I got that page. Now you just need to go to the page that you're trying to look at. Or the tab. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll keep messing with it and maybe it'll pop up here in a second. But getting back to our discussion, we were talking about silver and how silver is really at the heart of this power struggle taking place, really at the heart of Trump attempting to destroy his enemies. And, that's pretty cool. So can you still hear me up there? Okay. So, let's stop sharing here. There we go. So it's interesting that that's taking place along with our hyperinflation, and this is where people begin to flee the fiat currency world, and apparently cryptocurrencies largely become the tool through which value is transferred back and forth across the world. It makes sense that would be it's a natural evolution of the world. I was going to show you, or the viewers that can see, a video, kind of a picture of where you're at on a chart with Ethereum in particular, which it's interesting because Ethereum had a great day yesterday. It went up about 7.5% or so, and today it's just kind of rusting. Over a 24-hour period, it's down about like 1%, but it keeps kind of evening out throughout the day to day. So that's typically when that happens, the moving average that it bounced off of is coming up to meet the price. And when it does, you're going to see another kind of upward swing here. So if you're out there in the crypto world and you own Ethereum, just know that right now you successfully tested a resistance area, broke through 330. 330 roughly is now support. If you break back down through 330, 3,300, you're going to, potentially test the recent lows. I wouldn't suspect that will end up happening. The other thesis of that particular trade is that the upper support lines, you're looking at somewhere around 3,600 to 3,700, and if it can break that, 4,200. So that's where you're at. That would be, a 20% gain from here, somewhere around that. But so But back to the UFO conspiracy and how that's kind of tied in. The Webbot says that they kind of printed so much extra money in an attempt to back engineer some of this technology, and a lot of it went into just keeping it secret. Many people got paid off lots of money to keep their mouth shut. That's just the way it is. Money is the ultimate motivator, and the people involved with these programs are extremely highly paid to the point where they do keep their mouth shut. So that's just where that's at. Now, there's some researchers out there saying that that really how this looks, if you trace it back to 2009 and David Grush's testimony, just the past couple of years, saying Dick Cheney was the guy that was kind of the head of the UFO cover-up back then, you can kind of break down what the structure must have been for them to do what they were doing. And it looks like there's 6 major intelligence agencies that are right underneath, let's call him the man in the high castle, the guy that's moving the chess pieces on the board, right? And the operational wing of all of that is the CIA's division of exotic technologies. They have a field operative group, and it's within that group that they are dispatched to acquire, because they can just show up to like a military base, but they arrange all of the aircraft, personnel, etc., necessary to go out and retrieve these craft. From that stage, depending on a number of categorical factors involving the craft itself, it is then fed into, or actually kind of dissected and then fed out to 6 different intelligence agencies here in the U.S. What's weird is that the NRO appears to be the one that's connected to them all, and that's the National Reconnaissance Office. In fact, when you look at the National Reconnaissance Office personnel, you'll see that many of them appear to be involved in the legacy UFO program. Either had worked at the NRO at some point or hold a position there currently, etc. From that point, it gets further broken down into the various secret scientific laboratories around the country, like Oak Ridge, and there's like 6 or 7 of these, highly secure research laboratories that from the intelligence agencies, the technology is then trickled down to these labs where they attempt to do their back engineering on various parts and pieces of this kind of technology, right? And it's way at the bottom of this triangle, this pyramid, that you end up with the aerospace military industrial complex companies and their SAPs, or their special access programs, where they actually do possess some of this alien technology, and they are working to help back engineer it and actually put it to work in the field, right? I mean, what could be more attractive to a military or to intelligence than an aerial platform that you could hover 100 feet unknown, undetected completely by your enemy above them without being seen. Completely invisible, completely autonomous, completely protected. You know, that's the Holy Grail. People are like, well, why do they keep it a secret? Well, you know, if you have that kind of technology, you can literally just own your enemies. You can just own them. And that's what they're working for, right? At the same time, they are fully aware, at least the insiders that have come out say that they are told that China and Russia have also acquired alien technology and are working to weaponize that technology against us. Is that just a narrative that they put out there in order to help keep the secrecy, or is that a fact? Have there been other advances? We don't know. But what we do know from the leakages of Immaculate Constellation, the UFO SAP program that was taking place, that was utilizing naval vessels to monitor activity between the Russian Navy and apparent alien craft, that at one point a Russian naval vessel took off to an undisclosed location, that it appeared, by all appearances, it showed up to a spot that seemed completely random, and at that moment in time, when it basically stopped and was waiting, an alien craft appeared. This entire thing was apparently videotaped and photographed by a United States intelligence gathering submarine of the type that I served on. So, that's interesting stuff, right? That tells us that somebody somewhere in Russian intel / military, whatever their structure is, had some kind of contact with these aliens in such a way that they rendezvoused with an alien craft. That should be extremely concerning. I know it concerns me. So that is an interesting structure. Now, chief among the exotic technology division of the CIA is a man named Glenn Gaffney. And Glenn Gaffney has been, called out in congressional sessions by none other than George Knapp, the journalist out of Las Vegas that broke the Area 51 story and now is famous just for breaking UFO stories pretty much nonstop. So if you want to see what the face of really one of the main gatekeepers looks like, you can find a picture of Glenn Gaffney online. Take a look at him. Take a look deep into those eyes, because that's somebody with a lot of weight on their shoulders. So, and it's interesting because he has been fingered as the individual who was responsible for interrupting the transfer of alien technology from Lockheed Martin to Bigelow Aerospace, owned by none other than Bigelow himself, the guy who owned Skinwalker Ranch. And, this is where things get really weird, right? Because you have people like the prominent scientist Gary Nolan, out of Stanford, probably the best scientist in the world that the Pentagon's using to study not only UFO material, but brain damage caused to humans by UFOs. These guys are the real deal. And it's interesting that you have a situation now where they're actually dealing with materials that have apotheum effects. What's an apotheum effect, right? An apotheum effect is the fact that these craft have the ability to bend reality as we know it, to alter it as we know it, to create weird paranormal effects that make no sense to us at all. And those paranormal effects that are caused by interaction with these craft is now identified by Pentagon scientists as the hitchhiker effect. The hitchhiker effect is the fact that every one of these people associated with Skinwalker Ranch and later the Pentagon's UFO program, and even naval personnel that had interaction with UFOs and others, just witnesses that they were able to come across, high quality witnesses, all of them experienced the hitchhiker effect. They had interaction with alien craft, and then they were constantly bombarded with other kinds of paranormal-like activity, everything from poltergeist activity to material objects just blinking into existence right in front of them, like in their living room, and then just blinking back out of existence. All of that also culminated in a Dogman encounter, not once, but now we know from the testimony of Dr. Jack Lukasik from his books that he has published on Amazon, one of the legacy scientists to the UFO program, that he too had a Dogman encounter while he was at Skinwalker Ranch. That throws a huge wrench into the cryptozoology machinery in a way that, you know, everything kind of grinds to a big halt at that stage, because what are we talking about here? Is that to infer that any and all Dogman activity is part of the hitchhiker effect, and therefore part of the overall UFO phenomenon and should be classified as such. And what about Sasquatch? Let's ask Stan Gordon. I tell you, before I got heavily into cryptozoology, I was heavily into reading any and all literature being published about the UFO phenomenon, and I came across, of course, the abductee sub-niche of the UFO phenomenon and became obsessed with studying everything I could about it. And it was in those encounters that I came across Bigfoot. Non-stop. Almost invariably, anytime an abductee had an encounter in a wilderness area, there was a Bigfoot in the company of the gray aliens who took them. That's just the way it is. And now you have a whole big group of the UFO or the Bigfoot community that are kind of embracing the paranormal aspects of that phenomenon for the first time, because up till now, largely, they've been peopled by researchers who thought this was just another hominid species undiscovered in the wilderness of North America. They are far, far more than that. Far more than that. And I actually theorize in my unified field theory of paranormal activity that any and all bipedal cryptid animals have to in fact be chimera constructions by a non-human intelligence. That was after dealing with the actual DNA scientists who study DNA both from Sasquatch and from Dogman animals, and were able to ascertain that there was a chimera construction to it that was so advanced that it just made their jaws drop. So advanced that there's no way it could have been done by human hands, no way, no how, And so that led them to the belief that this had to be done by non-human hands. That's logical. And then you have all of this testimony about cryptid animals being in the vicinity of UFOs, including the fact that Jonathan Keel, the late great John Keel of the Mothman Prophecies, who discovered even back then that in 20% of all credible Bigfoot sightings, a UFO was also reported at the scene. So if that's a fact, and it is, how do we begin to factor that into our overall cryptid animal equation? It's a question I spend a good deal of my time contemplating, and as of yet don't have a good answer for. So, that is very interesting. The UFO phenomenon itself, the apotheum effects, there's other apotheum effects, like the manipulation of time. And if you watch the recent UFO documentary that made such a big splash, The Age of Disclosure, you will get to see the actual scientists who have studied these craft talk about it. They say, oh no, I didn't study the actual craft, but they did. These are the guys, Eric Davis, Gary Nolan, those are the guys. And they're saying that these craft operate in such a way that they have a power generator on, and that generator can generate somewhere in the neighborhood of all of the power generated by the United States for 10 full years, all as soon as it comes on, right? That creates a bubble around it. That bubble is able to actually bend space and time within it. And if you can bend space and time within a bubble, you can do all kinds of amazing things, even cause time distortion outside the bubble, which would explain why there's missing time in alien abductee accounts. It would also explain how they're able to travel from sea to air to space and back to sea again, enter trans-medium travel. It would explain all of the 5 observables that are known to the Pentagon and, you know, have been made famous by Lou Elizondo out there. So, as we go forward here, the Webbot predicts that the price of silver continues to rise to the point where it is unobtainium. What price is that? That's anybody's guess. I've heard technical analysts say that if it breaks 175, you could see a spike to 800 within weeks. That's just the way that it's structured underneath when you look at the charts. Can you imagine? And the world will have to deal with the repercussions of a banking industry that basically short-sold their future out from underneath them through what's called naked short-selling and the illegal manipulation of spot silver prices going back at least 50 years, more like 80. And if you trace it all the way back, this manipulation goes back to the so-called Opium Wars between China and Britain. And that was a period of time when Britain actually got most of China hooked on opium, and then they demanded payment for that opium in silver only. They extracted all the silver wealth out of China. They floated it all back to England, and that became the basis of their banking structure that is about to be destroyed right before your eyes. That's a beautiful thing to watch. So if you're out there and you have the means by which to sit in front of a computer screen all day, I'm telling you the most entertainment value you can get, the best bang for your buck right now, is to pull up a live streaming quote of silver and gold and watch what's going to happen. And just realize that every single time it goes up another dollar, it is just obliterating the people that have had a stranglehold on this planet and the human species going back eons of time. And that's tonight's show. Stay tuned for The Vixen's Vault, starring the lovely Nancy Planeta, and join me next week, and we will continue our crazy, crazy exploration of Sci-Fi Emerges. I'll see you then.